Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. This is Umaira Said, lecturer, English Times Institute. So here we are with the lecture number 5 today, which is narrative writing. Those students who were already studied these topics with me, we have discussed the outline basically about the narrative writings, and today we will jump into the narrative writing and find out that how many types of the narrative writings are, how we may write the narrative writings, what is the plot, what is the setting, what is actually the style of giving the narrative writing. So before starting the narrative writing, it is important for you to have a pen and the paper in your hand to note down the important points. So in the previous lecture number 4 we discussed the paragraph, and we discussed that what actually the paragraph is, and we said that it is a collection of the sentences which leads to main idea. It means that there must be some idea in your mind that will be lead to making a complete paragraph. Collection of 5 to 6 paragraphs made an essay, and if you want to write a novel, a drama, a book, or a fable, a short story, a folklore, so you must have some idea in your mind. So most important thing to have an idea. If you have an idea, then there are a lot of things you may write on the paper. The second most important thing in developing of an idea is to have a grasp and the command over the language. And how you may have a command over the language? If you will read the books and the newspaper on the daily basis. So this is an easiest way to improve your vocabulary and improve your language. So there is no short way to the success. So there is no short way to write an essay or write an paragraph. Then we discussed that what are the main elements of paragraph. My dear students, we discussed that there must be a brainstorming. First of all, if you have an idea, then start brainstorming, and the brainstorming is usually done in the brain. So there is not something present physically in front of you, that idea will start dancing there, but you have to think over the topic and the ideas will bombard in your mind. The number 1 was the order. If you have an idea, then start giving them an order. There must be unity and coherence in between the words. If you have an order, then there must be unity between the sentences. Then it becomes the brevity. It is said that brevity is the wit of the ideas, wit of the soul. So it means if you have a wit, you must have a brevity. And what is brevity? In the very few possible words, you compose your ideas in the shortest possible sentences. Like, do not make longer sentences, but in the shortest possible words convey your ideas. In the 7 C's we studied that there was the compactness in your thoughts. Instead of saying so many things and so many words and giving the same idea, just use the few words and convey your idea. And then it becomes the conclusion and the reference with another. So we have discussed this pyramid, and now moving to the narrative writing. What is actually the narrative writing? The word narrative means, it is a synonym if I say it is a storytelling. So narrative means to explain something. To explain means like you may explain a wedding procession, sometimes you may explain a road accident, your first day at college, your last day at college, or sometimes when you move to or visit some good place in Murray, when you come back you used to tell your friends that what you had there. So starting with the chronological order, you tell that how you moved there, what you did there, what you ate there. So there is some order in your explanation. So this is the narrative explanation and the narrative writing. Many of you students are very much habitual of watching movies, and you may see that when the movie starts, it starts from a particular point. So it does not start from sometimes from the end, and sometimes from the very beginning of, sometimes from the flashback. So flashback is also a part of starting a chronological order. So this is the narrative writing. Now move through the elements of the narrative writing. What is the most important parts of the narrative techniques? Like in the narrative techniques, you must have a plot. Many of you will be so amazed. Plot, it is not a plot on the land. Plot is that how you are going to give a structure to your writing. As I told you, it is very common in girls. that whenever they used to visit or attend some marriage ceremony, when they return to the college or visit their cousin's house, they tell that how they entered into the marriage hall, what was there, how was the ambience, what was the food. So they start from the very point and then they move to the bride and the dresses and food and so many things which is related in those events. So they just make a series of events and convey. If I am like, it is just a part like I am joking it, like you used to narrate so many events in your daily life. So when a writer narrates something, so he used some kind of a pyramid which is a plot, and this plot structure and this plot idea was presented by Aristotle. Those people who are so much interested in literature, they know who was Aristotle. Then there was also a plot structure which was given by Shakespeare, and these plot structures mean that how they have to start their literary writing. While if you are writing a drama, if you are writing a movie, if you are writing a short story. So let me give you an example of a very common example, short story, Button Button. The first lesson, Button Button. Any one of you remember? Yes, there were the three main characters in that. The author was narrating the story, and who was the readers? You people were readers. There were the three basic characters. One was the Nora, then his was husband, and then third was the Mr. Stewart. So it means that the plot of the whole short story was revolving around three characters. In a narrative writing, we have this pyramid, like we have beginning, some starting of an event, then we have the development. Development means that when the Nora and Mr. Arthur, he has some argument with each other. Nora was saying that we must press the button, because if we press the button, we would have money, a luxurious home and the luxurious life. What he was saying, Mr. Arthur, like if we press the button, so killing a one man means killing a whole humanity. So this concept is an Islamic concept, that if you kill one person, it means you are killing the whole humanity. So it was given by the Matheson in his short story. So there was the development of character, not the development of character, but the development of their thoughts. Then it reaches some main point. It is used to be said the climax. It is in the movie, it is interval. So here there is a downfall of the characters. So how the downfall of the characters start? That now Mr. Arthur is not either convinced, but Nora is convinced, and now she is planning to press the button. Now when she pressed the button, her husband died in some train accident, and then she called Mr. Stewart that you said that someone in the world would die whom I did not know, but my husband died. Then what was the historic words of Mr. Stewart? Do you really love your husband? It means that if you love your husband, you must know that what your husband is thinking. So if you are not understanding his thinking, you must not love him. So it was the catastrophe in literary words, and in a simple word for the students like computer science or those who are not literate, it means the end. So this pyramid, a whole thing was the plot. When you in some future will write some drama, some novel, some short story, so this plot structure will be very much important for you. The plots are of, in narrative writing, the plots are of different types. Sometimes it is pyramid, and sometimes it is inverted pyramid. And it is my research that Aristotle tragedy and the Aristotle when analyzed or criticized, he criticized some pyramid novel, and Shakespeare writing is this inverted pyramid. So I have a little research on that. So let's move to the structure, that what kind of a structure should be used in narrative writing. If I take a very difficult example, then I may suggest you that The Stranger in the Strange Land by the Robert A. Heinlein. It was a novel in which he used the structure. It is very complex with the number of characters in it, but if I give you an example of the shortest story in the first year lesson, that was number 1 was Button Button, and number 2 was Dog Dever and the Golden Eye. The third is Overcoat. The number 4 is Thank You Ma'am. So if you read all these short stories, you will find out that how the authors are giving or narrating the events to you. Just recall the lesson number 4, thank you ma'am. There were only 2 characters, a healthy large woman and a small boy of 14-15 years old. The characters, 2 characters, the setting was 11 at night, and there was the beginning. The woman was moving alone at 11 p.m. He caught a boy. The boy was trying to snatch the purse. Then he brought him back to his home, and then at the end he offered him cake, gave him the money to buy the pseudo blue shoes, and then he went back to. So it means the plot of the short story is like so simple comparatively to the drama or the novel. Structure, as we are discussing, it may be pyramid, or sometimes it will be inverted pyramid. Now moving to the characters. Beta, in drama you would have number of characters, but every character has its own part. Like some have the lion's share or some have the minimum role. But in the novel you have so many characters, the minor and the major characters, and there are so many incidents involved in it. Sometimes we used to skip the incident. If many of you are habitual of reading Urdu novels, you may see that there will be number of characters. Some of the characters are round. Round are those characters, like if you are a narrator, if you are narrating an incident, you will say the role of the policeman was changing gradually. Like at the spot of the incident, he was very active, and gradually we see that his role was dimming. So this is the flat round character. Some of the characters are flat. Flat means that they had no contribution in the whole story. Like there are so many people in incident or in our real life, they do not have any role. So their character is a flat character. And some of the characters which are have so many dimensions, like they are performing different roles. Like many of the protagonists, the hero and the heroines, have the dimensioning, 3-dimension roles or the multi roles in a single setting. So if you are narrating an incident, what kind of an tense should be used? It is very important. As I told you earlier, that while writing an essay or writing a paragraph or narrating an incident, your tense should be past, because you are telling us something which has happened in past. You are not telling us something which is happening in the present. Like if something has happening in the present, you would use present continuous tense. But for action which has been done, completely finished, you would use the past perfect tense. And in the narrative writing, you would use a simple past tense, a past perfect tense, a past continuous tense. Sometimes if you want to give a dramatic effect, so the story which has done in past, but you would use in present. So this is some techniques of writing a narrative essay, narrative drama, narrative story. The themes. What are the themes? Like many of the short story have the different themes. As I am giving you an example of as thank you ma'am and the button, there was a moral inside it, that greed is a curse. In the thank you ma'am, the moral was that one should help, God help those who help themselves. But there should be a moral in every of the narrative writing. So my dear student, this was the lecture number 5 today. Your assignment related with the narrative writing and the topics will be provided in your WhatsApp group. So keep in contact with CR and GR. Stay home, stay safe and follow my video lectures. Thank you very much.